listening to Range Minded from Independence Indoor Shooting. If you haven't yet, go hit that subscribe button on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, or however else you get your podcasts. That way you'll get the latest episode as soon as it drops. And hey, while you're there, let us know how we're doing by leaving us some feedback. This is episode 26, which is a bit more lighthearted and less opinionated than our last episode. We get a little introspective and talk about how we all got into firearms, where our training and firearms education has taken us so far, and what the next step is for us in our firearms journeys. As always, thanks for listening to Range Minded, and we hope you enjoy episode number 26, The Never-Ending Journey of Firearms. Hello, and welcome to Range Minded, episode number 26.
Again, if you could only hear the banter that we have before we start recording.
Oh, it's great. Getting pumped up for...
And maybe Mark secretly records it and...
It's all there.
That would be like the outtakes.
Yeah, that'll be my Christmas present to you guys, is an outtakes and bloopers episode, a best of.
And he's not going to let us listen before he releases it.
No, not at all. Just going to go out into the public. But little did you guys know that Steve is a master impersonator. He's got voices for days.
Yeah, I impersonate people who care all the time.
Well, we're going to get a little self-reflective this time and talk about training, our own levels of training, what we've done. Become one with the firearm. And if you can't tell, we've got some music to set the mood.
Yeah.
Some wonderful sounds from the Far East. Help us.
I'm soothed right now. I have my leg up over the arm of the chair.
Ricky's in a lounge chair.
You must seek yourself before you find yourself.
Yeah, we're going to.
That was more like a Dalai Lama meets Yoda.
Let's keep it there.
Okay. Get that cheese buttercup.
Yeah, see, that's all this is going to be.
I said 2 minutes. Encino Man, come on. Now, that's not racist, is it?
Here at Range Minded with Independence Indoor Shooting, we do not discriminate based on race, color, creed, or religion.
I was referring to Encino Man.
Yeah, you were quoting a movie, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, now that we've alienated a sizable percentage of our audience.
No wheezing the juice.
If you've made it this far, we're going to talk about...
I hope this is a light-minded, range-minded.
Yes, it will be. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk about our own training.
You must let yourself go.
Oh my God, is this going to be the whole episode?
You're the one that got him started.
I know, and I can't stop him now. Talk about our own training, where we want to go with the continued training. Just our own kind of self-assessment to let you know where we are on our firearms journey. Because firearms is not a destination. Firearms is a journey.
And it starts with
you
one
should play
step.
Journey at that part.
Just never stop believing.
Don't stop believing in yourself. Hold on to that feeling. Oh, this is what happens. We're in the small classroom. We're recording it.
Strangers and streetlights.
Yeah, you know when you have a slumber party and you start getting all giggly and laughing and everything's funny?
That's when you watch Monty Python in Search of the Holy Grail.
Yeah.
Yep. 3 times in a row.
It is the most funny.
You watch it in the middle of the day and you're like, well, this is really stupid.
Actually, no, I can watch it anytime and enjoy it.
Well, we did have pizza. We just needed some pop or soda, and then it would have been a real deal thing.
Some soda?
Some soda pop.
Oh, yeah. You got a fizzy pop?
Well, this is what happens when we record at 8:30 on a Saturday night, too. It's time to party, so. But let's talk about our training. Let's self-reflect
I just
a little
downed
bit.
a whole bottle of water.
You're ready to talk.
So you're going to go.
So he's
going to start getting Nancy in his chair because he's going to.
Nancy
in your chair. I just excluded our Nancys out there that listen, huh?
Man, great start.
Microaggressions.
Let's start with Ricky, because we got to shut Steve up for a few minutes. Let him cool down.
Impossible.
Let that water soothe him. Obviously,
you must be like water.
The academy director would, you'd think, have a lot of training, right?
So I started my journey.
So anytime it starts with...
There's a caveat coming.
Oh, here we go.
I started my firearms journey about 6 months ago. It's been a roller coaster, amazing adventure. No. When I was growing up, I've talked about this throughout our time, but growing up, I hunted with my dad.
Yeah.
And but that's really all it was at Hey, I want some of that.
Steve has Altoids. Combined with the music in the back. People
There's so much to say, I just can't say it.
People are going to start wondering about you guys.
This is more of a lighthearted episode. Anyway. But yeah, I started my training with my dad, and that was...
What? I'm
intrigued. You've lost him now. You broke Ricky. What's in these What's in these Altoids? Oh no!
I'm sorry. It's been a while since I've cried while I've laughed.
I don't think it's a lighthearted cry, Ricky.
Oh, that's so hard.
Somebody's gonna walk by and they're gonna see us all wiping our eyes. Oh, this is bad, but awesome.
Those weren't Altoids.
Let's say what's in. We're all going on a journey together, everybody.
Oh, okay. Those were special Altoids.
Mint flavored roofies.
You want to hear a 4-hour podcast?
of 3 grown men giggling. Look at him! Look at him over there!
Oh no! What did you do?
This is great radio.
Okay,
This is fantastic. You okay, Rick? Do you need a moment?
I just can't look at Steve right now.
Well, we were going to talk about training. We're going to separate you two.
Okay.
You still gotta talk into the mic.
Yeah.
Okay, radio voice.
Let's come back to center.
Do your effects. Give
Deep
me
breaths.
the radio voice.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
So we learned that on our board that we can produce all sorts of fun things.
Oh, yeah. We're growing our
Okay,
recording.
you have to turn off the music. I'm sorry.
All right, I'll cut the music. We'll tone it down now. We'll take some deep breaths. We'll come back to center. Also, I didn't mention we're recording 2 episodes back to back.
Yeah, so we just did 25, and now we're working on 26.
Yeah, and 25 was a little bit heavy. There was
Yeah.
we got into some politics a little bit, which is fine, which is all well and good, but I think
That's why this one has to be lighthearted. Okay.
so yeah, we don't want to keep you down and serious and revolutionary all the time. So
Viva la revolución.
that's right.
We had to give him the outtakes a little bit.
Oh Lord, your eyes are red
He is high.
on life
Yeah, on life.
and
Yeah.
Altoids.
I have to say it's really nice to cry and laugh at the same time. I haven't done that since I was 3.
What
It's
a boring
nice.
childhood.
Tough life.
Okay,
Sesame Street had that much of an impact.
Oh man.
Big Bird. Anyway, okay. No, my firearms education. I grew up hunting with my dad, which is a big deal, and I learned safety. That was the best thing. But that's all it really came down to is my firearms training. There is safety. I've talked about it. You get your gun out of the closet and you blow the dust off, and then you sight it in for hunting season, and you put it away after you've harvested game, and
that's it.
When I was about 21, I was trying to think of myself, or where am I going with my life? I married my wife, who was going to law school, and I had just gotten off of a 2-year church mission, and hadn't gone to college or anything like that. And so I was just trying to figure out what I wanted to do. So during some reflective time, I said, I like working outdoors. I like the outdoors.
Sure.
I like working with my hands. I like working with wood and metal, things like that. And I kind of just put it all together, and I said, that makes a gun.
Yeah, sure does.
And I was like, I wonder if there's such thing as a gunsmith. I know a blacksmith, silversmith, all this stuff. I didn't even know they had such thing as a gunsmith. And so I just researched it on the computer, gunsmithing schools. And yeah, lo and behold, they came up with gunsmithing schools. And back then you had some Lassen Community College in Northern California, which is more connected. It's a community college. So it's not just devoted directly to gunsmithing necessarily. You have to take other classes.
Sure.
And then there was one in Pittsburgh, or in Pennsylvania, not Pittsburgh, but Pennsylvania. Then there was one down in Trinidad, Colorado, which was one of the oldest, but then I found Colorado School of Trades, which was Trinidad and Colorado School of Trades in Colorado.
Well, Trinidad focuses on more of the traditional stuff, didn't it? Isn't that what they do?
They're linked to a community college, so it is different, to where you still have to take the science and the history and all that, whereas Colorado School of Trades is just gunsmithing. That's all they do. Sorry, there was a burp. All that laughing got me. But
It's
anyway,
all right. Got him gassed. Oh, don't start again.
no, I think without the cheesy music, it's better.
You better turn it down.
But Mark will put the cheesy music back in so I don't.
Oh yeah, don't worry.
Break down. Anyway, so then I found gunsmithing school, and I went to gunsmithing school and at the Colorado School of Trades. Loved it. Loved every second of it. It was just awesome to dive into firearms, something I never really knew much about, to tell you the truth. I graduated gunsmithing school back in 2010. I mean, what does it mean you can have a gun chambered in multiple rounds, chambered for multiple calibers? I don't know. I thought a Remington 700 was always a 30-06, or always, that's as far as I went.
Right.
Because I just grew up hunting with my dad. That's it. Gunsmithing school, at least at the Colorado School of Trades, I can't speak to every gunsmithing school, but the Colorado School of Trades was really an immersion into that firearms world. After I graduated, I went to work at some mom and pop stores. I went back to Virginia, where my wife was finishing up her school, and worked at some retail, Dick's Sporting Goods, and a shooting range. Did some gunsmithing, but then moved back to Reno, where I worked at U.S. Ordnance. This was a year and a half later, or a year later. And that's where I got the experience building machine guns, and I worked there for about 2 years, building the M60, the M2, which is the 50 cal.
Some real gun. Deal stuff.
So during that journey, did you feel like you'd always had another goal, another place you wanted to go at each one of those places where you're like, oh, now that I'm here at this place, now that I graduated from gunsmithing school, I want to do X in the industry?
Yeah, and it always changed. Every time I got to X, there was another X, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I never reached it, and I can't say I, even to this day, have reached it.
I think that's healthy, though, right? Mm-hmm. We were talking about goals off the air, and I think that's a healthy attitude.
And we've talked about in previous podcasts, too, where if you think you know everything about firearms, you're in a bad wrong. Spot.
Yeah.
So you always want to be continually learning and finding out new things and all that, so...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was interesting. So when I went to U.S. Ordnance, I was like, holy cow. I walked in the first day and there were guns just laying everywhere. I was like, this is awesome. Machine guns.
Yeah, and M60s and I was like, and M2.
Scary.
Yeah.
Those are illegal.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't buy those.
Bad guys have those.
Yeah.
No, full auto machine guns just laying on a box over by the cage where they kept their inventory. It was just like, it's just there.
It's just a tool. It's a machine.
I was like, I've reached my place. I was sure.
Nirvana awaits.
Yeah, I was like, this is it. And, I liked it, but it was hard work because you're building 400 M2s. I was mainly M2 assembly. And we helped out with QC, quality control, things like that. But, I mean, M2s... They weigh 82 pounds all assembled.
Really?
Yeah, they're heavy guns.
Yeah, that's...
And when you're
awesome.
building 400 of them a month, and you're just not lifting it one time. You're lifting it multiple times. You have to go and test fire it. And people roll their eyes. Oh, what a hard job. You had to go test fire M2s, man. But you take 400 out there and you have to test fire them per government
To mil spec
regulations.
or whatever.
Yeah. It's a lot of work.
Well, long hours, I bet.
Oh, it gets long. I mean, you do find time to go and have fun. Like, me and my buddies would have, hey, can you hit that rock way out there? And we would have and we would put it on our single shot. We wouldn't do full auto. And we would have API rounds, which is armor piercing incendiary, during winter. We wouldn't do it during the summer.
Right.
But, yeah, I mean, we had access to that stuff. So that's why, like, when people are like, do you want to shoot a machine gun? No. Been there, done that. It's like, no, I don't have any I have a love for it, but it's if I had an M2 now, that's a whole other story.
Well,
we have the 1919, which is very similar, but
Sure. Predecessor.
Well, your threshold for novelty for firearms is probably way higher than the average person because of your previous experience. Like, for example, I just shot a full auto for the first time a couple weeks ago. Or was it only last week?
It was last week.
Man, okay, it's been a long week then for me. But anyway, and it's fun. Like, I just started getting into it and just started for the first time shot a suppressed AR-15. So that's all new.
Yeah, we had a deuce over there.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
do you remember who made it? What brand it was?
Ricky brand.
Maybe you built the gun. No, I can't remember. It was an older deuce.
Yeah. I remember seeing it when I went into...
Super fun.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
Well, for somebody that didn't have to work on it every day.
Well, I love it. Like, I mean, just the... And for people that don't know, the Modus is the John Browning design.
It's the gun, or the machine gun.
That's still being used after 80... What was that? That was the 20s, I believe they started.
Yeah, I think it was the 1920s. And it's used all over the world.
I mean, they have not been able to find a gun that can top it. I mean, they've tried tons of times and they still can't. I mean, it's still being used. It's crazy.
So after you did that and built machine guns and all that, how did you kind of get into the training and the academy aspect of things?
My wife and I moved back to Colorado after that. I'm a people person. And the thing with gunsmithing, I loved it because I'm working with my hands, but gunsmithing takes you away from people. Mm-hmm. And usually, I may offend some people out there when I say this, but gunsmiths are interesting people. Usually,
they're their own bunch.
They're kind of crotchety.
Yeah,
and they like to be in their own little space.
No,
which I can fit into that, I guess, sometimes, but I like people. Mm-hmm. And locking myself away in just a room gunsmithing all day, I love it. I have a passion for it, but I can't do it all day long, and so I got burned out of it. Sure. And just doing that. So then we moved back to Colorado, and I opened up my own business teaching concealed carry classes because I had gotten experience with the pistols, handguns, things like that. And so I had a passion for education there, and I really grew to love that. Mm-hmm. And it was actually going quite successful, but I decided to go back to school. And so that's where I went. I went over to BYU, Idaho, over in Rexburg, Idaho, Eastern Idaho, where Steve is not currently residing right now, this second, but pretty close to where he's going to be heading back to. Yeah. It's beautiful over there.
You need to come visit, Mark.
Yeah.
Have you been to Yellowstone or any of those places?
I drove through Grand Tetons.
I think we talked about this once before.
Yeah, on my way here, my journey here from Illinois.
Could you say journey again, please?
Journey?
My journey.
I haven't lost the accent, I'll tell you that much.
But I loved it over there. So I went back for a bachelor's degree in education. Was the ultimate department of it. And then after my bachelor's degree, I flew through that. It took like 18 to 20 credits a semester.
Yikes, okay.
And went for only 5 semesters, and I got my bachelor's degree done. So I cranked it out. Because
2.5 years, yeah. That's awesome. Impressive.
I was, actually, it was less than that because it was only a year and a half because BYU, Idaho had to where you could go 3 semesters in a year.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I just all year round just went and Just cranked it out because I was 28 years old. Plus, anything over 12 credits you get for free.
Really?
So, yeah.
What do you mean?
So full time is 12 credits.
Right.
And so every credit after that, you got those credits for free. They only count you for full time. You only pay tuition full time. Does that make sense?
I see.
So it's only counting 12 credits. So any amount of credits you pay over that, you're actually technically getting it for free.
Is that a BYU thing or?
I think I don't know. I think that's all colleges. I'm not sure.
I think I paid by the credit hour.
I doubt that's all colleges.
That might be an Idaho specific thing or a BYU specific thing.
It was really nice. And then I got academic scholarship. So that was a big deal too.
Yeah, I bet.
But after that, I said, there's more. I still want to do this. And so I went, and during, while I was going through school, it was always firearm focus. Mm-hmm. Always. All my projects, I annoyed my teachers. I'll just put it, or my professors. I'll put it that way. Because, well, I didn't annoy them, but they were like, okay, Ricky's totally firearms. He can't think of anything else. And so all my projects, whenever we got to choose what we were doing, it was always firearms related every single time. And then so after the bachelor's, I went on to get a master's degree in education. Same thing, always firearm focused. Thesis was firearm focused. It was about reality based training for law enforcement officers, and proving that. And so. And then that's where I am today. I'm bringing all that education that I received through my bachelor's and master's degree, and I'm here at the academy
as the academy director.
Yeah, and so I don't necessarily. I can't say that I'm a professional in everything, because I don't think you ever reach. You don't ever reach a destination, like you were saying.
There's no nirvana to reach in the firearms world.
And I don't think there should be.
Never should be.
Especially with the technology. There's always something new coming out, or there's always a new, platform, or a new, way to train, or something like that,
And my love is seeing Bill and Jim and Leroy and all these other instructors, Sarah, go in and share their knowledge. I don't want to be the person that's teaching every single class. That doesn't seem fun to me, because I shouldn't say it doesn't seem fun. I would love to be teaching and teaching and teaching.
Well, I don't think it'd be fun for the student.
No. Yeah, they need different perspectives.
Yeah.
Well, and some people learn differently as well. I think when we talked with Bill, he talked about he had an adult education degree.
Yeah.
And yeah, people learn differently. One of the things I like that he does from his education is he repeats things. And it's not in a condescending way or a way to belittle you. It's just so it sticks in your head. And some people maybe use examples differently, or, different things, and obviously he's law enforcement based. So,
well, and I sat in his class tonight. Again, this is convoluted. We're doing 2 episodes at the same time, right? So I sat in he's doing the enhanced class. So I sat through his portion of it. And if you haven't taken a class, I really do feel that our instructors here, we're blessed to have, and I know I've said that before, the dynamic in teaching, the way they present the materials, and just the core material itself I think it's awesome. And
the experience, the walks of life that everybody came from is fascinating to hear from. So,
and I really do believe you could so the curriculum is the same, right? So we have core curriculum that we're teaching, but it's a different class if Jim teaches it, and a different class if Bill teaches it.
Mm-hmm. And they're all good. It's just kind of different flavors of the same thing.
Yeah, and the content's the same, but the experience changes it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and to get to your training, Ricky, I mean, you just got back from, not just got back, but it's been a couple of weeks or a month or so. You went to NRA Carry Guard.
Yeah. Well, I guess I didn't talk about that, the actual training very much. I'm very, very much self-taught in pistol. But I have taken, first I went through the NRA basic pistol, became a certified instructor to do that. But that's, like we've talked about, kind of weak, Yeah. A guinea pig could pretty much.
Unfortunately, it's true that they set a standard so long ago, they never changed that standard. Mm-hmm. And then all these other people and groups and organizations that were adding on what the NRA started, but the curriculum was much better.
Yeah.
The NRA hasn't caught up or kept up with.
Now they are.
Yeah, with carry guard, but.
And then when I got here, Steve and I, or me, Steve, and Ryan, our general manager, went through the USCCA training to become, which is an awesome curriculum.
Yeah, and that's the curriculum we use. I think it is fantastic.
Mm-hmm. And so that's USA or USCCA certified to teach the course. I'm going to be going actually this next week to Reno, which is where I'm from, which will be nice to visit the family. But I'm going to go over there to certify and to become a counselor, a training counselor for the USCCA, so we can certify other people. Cool. So that'll be another piece of training there. And then Steve actually certified me as a range officer, range safety officer,
which is by far the best class we teach here.
Yeah, you can't top
great.
it.
No,
that's the first class I took here. Actually, was Steve's RSO class to be a range safety officer.
How long did you sleep through the class?
Most of it.
Well, so was I. So was Chris.
That was fine. We just signed the paper at the end.
It was nap time.
It was nap time. So thank you for coming. You're away from family and work. Let's take a nap.
And then we had snack time and juice time, and it was great.
Yeah.
So
and then recess.
And then we did the US or the NRA carry guard, which was awesome. We've talked about that. And then later next month, we're going to take. I'm going to go, and we were talking about this last episode, but going to go to Wisconsin with our instructors as well.
Yeah.
To go through the USCCA Defensive Shooting Fundamentals course, which is a 3-day course.
It's pretty cool.
And Rob Pincus is the one that developed the course. I don't know if he's going to be the one instructing it, but it's kind of cool.
Pincus is pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean he's one of the top tiers.
I've never met him. Yeah.
You're not buddies?
We don't hang out on the weekends or anything, but I like his style. Like anybody can jump on Facebook and see how instructors teach. Yeah. And I think he's awesome.
Yeah, he's a top tier instructor for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So then where do you want to go from here? Where do you see yourself in your next step?
Well, so first, my biggest thing that my goal, and I think it's important for people to understand, and hopefully they've gathered this through the episodes that we've held, is my love is education. Obviously, we have to make money for the business to stay a business. That's just what we have to do.
Right.
But my passion is giving people education that they need. I think it's a cool thing. A few weeks back, about a month back, one of our instructors, or one of our employees actually, Barrett, he's a elementary school teacher as well, but he approached me and said, hey, actually I approached him about a certain class, a hunting class, to talk about knives, how to use knives, bone saws, things like that for field dressing. And he's like, why don't we do it a little bit better and we actually get an animal in here so people can be trying it hands-on?
Yikes, okay. Real
Which
deal.
Which sounds extremely morbid, but that was one of the most referenced classes we've had.
Yeah. Oh, it was popular. And actually we just put on another one. And that filled up within 24 hours, and it didn't even take a full day to fill up.
Wow.
And so we now have 2 on the same night coming up on next week.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so that's a super popular class, but that's the thing, is like doing these things for students that they never get to do.
Yeah.
And that's where I love, that's why I don't want to be the one out there teaching all the time, because if I'm out there teaching, I can't design all these classes. I don't have the time to to try to think outside of the box and say, what can we do for the students to give them the knowledge that they need?
Yeah.
Not necessarily just in medical or self-defense or whatever, but for hunting.
Sure.
How do you field dress an animal?
Yeah, like I have no idea how to do that, and I would probably take that class. I'm somebody who likes to learn a little bit about everything, and so that's one of the things that I think is super cool here is that if you want to, kind of dip your toes into the waters of a little bit of everything. Like if I had never built an AR class, or if I had never built an AR before, I'd totally take the AR-15 build class. I may still if I want to build a fourth AR.
Well, and there's and going on that field dressing class, it's kind of cool because Barry actually just got a bear.
No way.
He's bringing his bear down?
He's going to bring a bear.
Oh, that's wild.
So
yeah, where else can you do that?
Where do you find a bear getting skinned? To see a black bear in person, and
man,
I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's way awesome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, that's. I mean,
what date is that class?
It's on the 26th. Well, the bear
this month.
I don't know how we'll do this. Nobody signed up for the bear one yet.
Wait,
it's on October 9th.
Oh, October 9th.
Nobody signed up for that yet. And I think it's because it's right before hunting season, the big rifle day of like when hunting season opens.
We need to put that on Facebook.
It's been on Facebook, but I could definitely push it a lot harder.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't you sign up for that? That's stinking cool.
It's almost like a once in a lifetime thing.
I put it on our newsletter and nobody signed up for it.
What day of the week is it?
It's what would that be? Tuesday or Wednesday? Can't remember.
Man.
But anyway, that's going to be an awesome class.
Yeah.
Seeing a bear.
Well, that's the other thing with firearms is that there's so many different applications, we've talked about concealed carry a lot, and handguns, I think that's kind of a big focus, but there's carbine classes, rifle classes, long range stuff, defense, shotgun, hunting, all that kind of stuff. There's all different kinds of things you can dive into. So let's say you maybe have quote unquote mastered something, or you think you're pretty proficient in handguns or something. Well, then you can go try rifles, or you can go try shotgun shooting and, combat style shooting, or IDPA or 3-gun or anything like that. You can go to those different, avenues.
Yeah. That's the beauty about the firearm industry is it's spider webs and it can go anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. So, Steve, let's pivot over to you because you've got some certifications.
Yeah,
some are written.
Not a lot.
He started his first cert in kindergarten.
Some are written in crayon. So
I drew it up myself.
Yeah.
So I started my journey in training. It was 2000. I can't remember for sure. Anyway, I wanted to. I felt like the next generation was obviously going to be kids and ladies, and so I figured, I that's when the concealed carry thing was kind of getting hot and heavy.
Sure.
And I was like, hey, there could be a need here, and I wouldn't mind being an instructor. So I found the closest NRA certified pistol course, which was in Salt Lake. A guy from Oregon came down and taught a class in Salt Lake, and it was a 2-day class because you had to go through BIT, and then the pistol class. So it was kind of lengthy, but it was all right. Like we've talked about, sometimes the NRA stuff is a little dry and boring, but
right. But you got to go through it.
Yeah, and I wanted the certification, right? So I got that all taken care of, but just life got in the way, and I never was able to schedule any classes or find venues to teach. I did, a little bit of research, but there just wasn't a lot of places to teach in Eastern Idaho that I wanted to pay for, like other than like renting a hotel room, one of their little conference room or whatever. I didn't put all the money up front and then not have any students, and I lost money, that type of thing. But you get the grander. Well, let's see, if I charge $75 a student and I get 10 students, that's so much money on a Saturday. It just doesn't work out that way.
Right.
So nonetheless, I had the certification. I was glad that I got my cert. Stayed in construction, didn't do much with it. And then the range in Idaho Falls opened, and I'm like, hey, that could fit. So I used that as the next stepping stone to work in the industry. That's where I got involved in the industry. Hardcore was in the range in Idaho Falls. There I was able to get my range safety officer certification, and then people move on, occupations changed, and there was no chief range safety officer. So there was a need, right? So I got that certification and became the chief range safety officer there, which was great because then I could teach other range safety officers.
Right, you took the next step up.
And I used that certification for about another year and a little bit, and then moved on, came over here. And I still use that certification, right? We had to teach range safety officers how to be range safety officers.
Today.
Yeah, and we teach that class at least quarterly. And we'll probably have to set some other ones up because we had a few people that didn't get in today.
I was surprised at the interest in becoming a range safety officer. It's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's a great thing that there's interest there. I'm just surprised that there's so many people who want to do it.
And I try to make that class not boring.
I'd say you do a mediocre job.
Mediocre. Fair to middling.
Yeah. C average.
So the NRA requires that being a 9-hour class.
9 hours.
Yeah. So that usually people look at
And Steve always goes to that time.
Maybe 10 or 11
Sets
hours.
a stopwatch, yeah. Yeah, I know, I'd say not longer.
Yeah.
But you make it, you do make it fun. And
I try to.
You bring some real world
The information's important,
It
right?
is.
And like today I hit, and I try to hit every time, but today especially I hit the emergency procedures part of it, like the reality of being a range officer and some things you could definitely experience on the range while you're officiating. Unfortunately, people feel like ranges are a good place to take their own lives. And that's a legitimate thing. And every time I talk about that in a range class, I get the look like, whoa.
But it's the real deal.
And it happens. And one day it'll happen here. That's just the way it is. And so I try to enlighten, not to scare people away, but to make them understand the importance of that certification. It seems kind of lame and humdrum, but it's the reality, right?
Well, it's a responsibility.
Yeah, and Boy Scouts, if you're gonna be in the Boy Scout organization, if you're doing a shooting activity, they require an NRA certification, and it's an instructor and a range safety officer. So there's troops out there that need to fill that void, and that's why we try to do that here as well. So anyway, I've taken some other classes, some other handgun classes. We did a little bit of jiu-jitsu a couple weeks ago, which was a ton of fun. But that was just to whet our appetite. Mm-hmm. And I'll probably, honestly,
I'm a pro now. I don't know about you.
You were amazing. And you only hit your head 6 times.
Yeah.
Well, that's why he was laughing so hard. He had a screw or two loose.
Yeah.
And honestly, I have a friend that has a gym in Idaho Falls, Pete Italiano, and I'm probably going to end up joining the gym and do some jiu-jitsu because it's fun.
Pete's over there?
Mm-hmm. Really good. He's a good friend of mine. I consider him a very close friend.
He's doing
He has a gym over there, jiu-jitsu. And he does a bunch of other stuff. And we took an edged weapon class, which hopefully, I really thought that was going to be way more appeal to it than there really was. Adam's a friend of mine that taught that class, and I'll take more of his classes too. I just want more tools in the toolbox.
Yeah.
My goal in the future is I really want to take a Ken Hackathorn class before he's done, which I don't have a lot of time.
I think he's done.
Maybe not. It might be too late. Regardless, when he opens a class, it sells out so fast.
Right.
And he's at the level where he can charge whatever he wants, and people will pay it. So cost prohibitive for me in a little way. So I got to save up some money and take some other classes, and take classes here. Obviously, I mean I really have faith in our instructors, so I'm totally willing to invest my time to come here, which sounds like a plug and kind of cheesy, but it's the truth. Like I really enjoy who we have here that teaches those classes, and honestly, it doesn't matter how many classes you take. You could take basic handgun 3 times and still get something out of it. Any level of shooting that you want to do, it's always good to go back to the beginning and do it again, I think.
You can never go over the basics,
No.
Over and over and over again. Like pro athletes,
Yeah.
How many times do they shoot a basketball? How many times do they throw a pitch? How many times do they, swing a golf club?
Yeah. And residents in Idaho don't realize their resources they have, not just us in the state. Like I say, Ken Hackathorn is just up the valley.
Is he over on this side?
Yeah, he's in the state somewhere.
I think he's in Salmon. Yeah, he's
Salmon Chalice area. That's not that far away.
It's a day's drive.
You got Shaw Shooting. Those guys are pretty good at what they do. We're spoiled in this state, and we talked about a little bit about Idaho being kind of a gun mecca. There's not only manufacturers, but
There's training as well.
Great education and training.
Well, even just the Pacific Northwest is a big, thing. There's a new company. Well, I think they're new-ish. Have you guys heard of Cogworks?
I don't know.
Kagwerks. And they're a big training thing. They've done some development for some military things or whatever, but they're in Camas, Washington, which isn't too far from here, I don't think. And there's a bunch of stuff in the Pacific Northwest, like a bunch of training opportunities to take.
There's so much, and you see a lot of guys popping up, and there's some really good instructors that are small, just starting in, and then you got the guys that are internet warriors that are so awesome. They're really good at marketing. You got guys like Front Sight, really good at marketing, and their education's not bad. I don't know. I don't want to talk bad about them, but you could probably invest your money somewhere closer and get the same level of training. Like
Independence Indoor Shooting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just down the street, honestly. A lot of that training's good. I got friends that teach it at Gunsight, and I'd love to go down there and hang out with them. They have some classes there that only they have those classes. Other people teach it, but it's their class. That's awesome. Mm-hmm. And so, eventually I'll make it to some of those other places. I don't get to go. I eventually want to become a counselor in the NRA, so I can teach other instructors, kind of like what you're going to do with USCCA, and I'll get there eventually. That's probably going to be the next closest step, but I got to save up for it.
Yeah, and that's I think a big challenge. Is a lot of it is the serious stuff is cost prohibitive, and it's multi-day stuff. It's a lot of time and a lot of money. Sometimes, you really have to invest into it. So, like the multi-day classes, like some of that serious stuff, you probably like NRI Carry Guard. I mean, was what 3 days, 2 days,
and almost 1,000 rounds, 900 and something rounds.
Yeah, I don't know officially how many we ended up getting.
Well,
through,
and that
it was quite a few.
And their curriculum is still kind of developing, kind of morphing.
Yeah, it's still new, but that's something
which it always should.
Oh yeah,
I think a curriculum always should, and that's where NRA screwed up.
That's where they failed. Yeah, well, not failed. That's where they have room for improvement.
Yeah, and the Carry Guard is trying to take over on and flip that.
And they're getting a lot of new blood in their educational side, and honestly, I think it'd be kind of cool to be in some position with the NRA, some kind of board. I think that'd be kind of cool. But I don't want to move to Virginia.
No. And unfortunately, I think you almost do have to if you're.
Yeah.
I don't think.
Well, they have state ambassadors and stuff like that too, but it's. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's never a valley, or an apex.
No.
Never an apex to go to.
Never a climax.
Never a climax, Ricky. That's right.
You're doing it wrong. What?
Yeah. Said it was going to be lighthearted, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that just leaves me.
Yeah, tell us about yourself.
Well, I mean, now I feel very elementary compared to you guys, because...
Well, I by no means do I feel like I have any kind of sage qualities or anything. Honestly, I'm pretty basic.
Sure, but you can teach people. You're certified, which is cool. Mm-hmm. So mine, I guess I started when I was a kid. Yeah, I went shooting with my dad a couple times. I kind of got hooked from there, and I always thought that was kind of fun. So I didn't really get into shooting again until I was out of college, maybe like 22, 23, 24. And in Illinois, you have to get your FOID card. So I'm like, well, I'll start with that. So I got my firearm owner's identification card, and then I dove in online. I didn't really think about training or anything like that. I just wanted to, learn how they function first and everything. So I bought a Mosin and just learned how a gun works, Looked on YouTube, looked on Reddit, read everything I could online.
Yeah.
Like a true millennial. And
what did you learn?
Everything.
Everything.
I learned.
He mainly just went to Facebook.
You were an immediate expert.
Yep, exactly. I was a couch commando. So I learned, and from there I learned, like how, basic guns function and all that kind of stuff. And then I bought a handgun and learned kind of how that functions, and kind of just went piecemeal from there. I built an AR, a lot of self-taught stuff. I really didn't get any serious training until I took the concealed carry class in Illinois. And even that wasn't much of a training. It was more just, hey, here's how you shoot a little bit. Here's the basics of, what Illinois needs and requires. And you have to go over all these certain things, just like everywhere else. Yeah. And it was a lot of opinion from the instructor instead of education, which, okay, whatever,
And that was kind of the, when we got, like I was talking about, when everybody the concealed carry thing started really catching on recently, the recent resurgence, is that was kind of the problem of what you got. The opinions of the instructor and the minimum that the state required.
Well, and in Colorado, it goes down to that too. It's like Colorado didn't require it had no time. At least in Idaho, you have an 8-hour mandatory, at least for the enhanced.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But in Colorado, I could meet with the guy, he pays me money, and I give him a certificate.
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you have to shoot rounds. It doesn't have anything on it. And I go and shoot with the students. And unless they were boneheads, they pass. I get them to that point where they're proficient,
Yeah.
And so, anyway.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack you.
No, that's okay. So, I went through that and got my concealed carry. Never really carried in Illinois. I was, I think it was a culture difference thing.
You never carried over there?
I did once or twice, not very often, though. I didn't.
Do you feel weird?
I felt weird. I felt a little... just didn't feel confident with it, so I said, if I don't feel confident with it, then I'm not going to do it. So then I moved here to Idaho, went shooting out BLM land a couple times and did that. But then really, it's my training and knowledge and stuff has really grown exponentially since I started here. I got certified as an RSO, thanks to Steve's nap time class. And then
osmosis.
Yes.
I teach through osmosis.
And then, Ricky kind of told me, hey, you can take any class you want. So I took, I started an intermediate pistol, and then I took the enhanced concealed carry class. And I think, there's a ton more that I definitely want to take too, but that, and then started doing competitions and stuff, and just the experience of actually, shooting more and getting tips from people and getting some actual one-on-one instruction with how to shoot and all that makes you way more confident. And so, and then take the enhanced concealed carry class, and then you become way more confident then. And now, I could carry anywhere, whenever, especially appendix carrying now. Learning that, so
best way to carry,
and that's been about 5 to 6 years maybe. Shooting's always been a hobby of mine in those last 5-6 years, but I've really just taken it slow. I obviously haven't jumped right in, but I think the momentum kind of grows once you kind of learn a little bit. Then you want to learn a little bit more.
Well, and then you get a set or a level of confidence or achievement when you pass one class.
Yeah.
And you don't want to let that die. I don't know if it's a fire that starts burning and you're like, I want to take another class.
Right.
And sometimes, unfortunately, some of those classes get so expensive.
Yeah.
Or you see, oh man, I can only take a Haley class. I'm only gonna go to Travis Haley's class. Oh, it's $900. Well, I guess I won't take it.
And that's no joke. And that doesn't count the ammo requirements too.
And you're taking 1,200 rounds, and then you got to fly or drive, unless you live close. And don't get me wrong, I'd love to take a class from Travis Haley,
right,
or Clint Smith, or any of those. I think that would be fantastic. And maybe it's the starstruck appeal, right? But I think they have some legitimate content. But you don't have to drive or fly when we can go see Leroy or John or any of these guys here that we I can teach you some pretty cool stuff because I was a beat cop, I was a drug cop, and I can do this.
Right, or I'm military or, anything like that. There's a lot of good practical experience there.
Yeah.
So, so that's kind of where I'm at and what I want to do. I don't know if I want to get into the education part of it. I do enjoy teaching people things, but it's something I've never really considered. But if the opportunity's there,
And I enjoy teaching people. I enjoy, taking time and teaching an RSO class, even if it's, 9-10 hours, whatever. It doesn't bother me teaching it because I feel like I have something to offer.
Yeah. And you're helping people.
Yeah, and I wouldn't mind getting to the point to where I can teach more handgun classes or whatever. And I usually just let the instructors that Ricky has vetted and feels comfortable with. I'm not going to say, hey, Ricky, I really want to teach that class. that's not my position, right?
Right.
So
Well, and Steve has helped us out, and Mark, you've helped us out
yeah.
in the academy quite a bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Once we get back into our busy season, we're going to be utilizing you a lot more.
But yeah, I think I'm taking my journey of firearms from just a simple hobby to developing it more into something that I am really passionate about. So, which is fun.
And firearms are fun. Shooting is fun.
Yeah.
I don't hunt, and people come in and they're surprised. I have friends that like are shocked that I don't hunt, but I love guns, and I have a couple guns that didn't go through the boat fire. People are surprised. Well, how do you have so much fun?
I thought you told us earlier that only one didn't go through the boat fire.
Yeah, it was one.
Are you lying, Steve? Mm-mm. Okay.
Don't worry about it.
I know what you mean. It was a Glock, but you have two slides for it.
Well,
so
what
it's
boat
different
fire too?
calibers.
Because I've had me and boat fires. I've had a terrible.
You got to
history.
stay away from boats.
Yeah, maybe one day.
Was it a fiberglass boat? Because those still float even after they burn.
No, it was a
wooden one.
cedar boat.
Okay.
Oh, bummer.
Yeah.
See, but to get back to it, the best way to learn is I like to learn a little bit about everything. So I've never hunted. I'm not averse to it, but I'd want to try that out. Like you were talking about, field dressing and stuff like that, to actually get the experience of for lack of a better term, cutting up an animal.
Yeah.
And that's not totally new to me.
And I know, here's the reason why I don't hunt. I know I will enjoy it.
And that's another hobby you're going to have to afford.
And I spend way too money on boat fires, way too much money on boat fires, and then to involve really finding an animal, and because I know I will enjoy it. And so I just don't do it. I'm not against hunting. I think it'd be fun. I spend way too much money on other things.
Yeah. And then, I'd like to learn a little bit more about how to use a carbine more.
And carbine stuff is so much fun.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Learn how to use a carbine more, learn how to use a shotgun a little bit better. I'd really like to get into 3-gun.
Yeah.
A little bit of competitions like that. But yeah, the cost does add up. You have to really love it to spend the money and the time on it.
Well, and what things are you going to sacrifice? Hobbies usually don't get sacrificed. Maybe a lunch does, right? It's just like guys that snowmobile. I enjoy snowmobiling. I don't snowmobile anymore,
right?
Because it's expensive. Mm-hmm. But I have friends that they will starve all summer long to be able to take their sled out and go play in the backcountry
all winter
long. And in reality, to take your snowmobile out, it's like $200 a ride. Like 200.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So they're spending a lot of money, and then if they break the sled down or they break a belt, there's $100 in the belt plus $100 in oil plus your gas to get to where you're going.
Yep.
Plus your registration. They're spending thousands of dollars a year. Not to mention if they buy another sled. You snow check a sled, man.
Well, and
$20 grand
one of my hobbies too is motorcycles.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I have two basically vintage motorcycles. One's an 86 and one's a 79. And I mean, it costs money to repair those things, and if I wanted to buy a new one,
you're looking for a new cafe racer or an old cafe and you want to replace it, man.
Yeah. And you got to insure it, register it, all that kind of stuff. And, with guns is the same thing. I mean, thankfully you don't have to. Well, you can insure them, but you don't have to.
Yeah.
But there's not like an annual thing you have to pay, but you got to feed them.
No.
You got to feed them ammo, and that costs money and range fees and all that, and it does add up.
And if you're going to have something, you might as well know how to use it.
Exactly. And we've talked about how, firearms proficiency is a diminishing skill if you don't use it.
Oh, yeah.
And it depreciates, but if you have the knowledge, you can retain that, and you'll never lose that knowledge as long as you keep it fresh.
Right.
So, like for example, so when I was here last week and I shot with my aunt, I hadn't shot in about a month. It had been a while, just because it was summer and I was traveling and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I could tell that my shooting wasn't as good as what it was, but I knew that it was more of my grip. I knew I could self-diagnose and get back on point much quicker because of the training and the knowledge that I had. Rather than just shooting and wondering what the hell I was doing.
Right.
So that's really what I think training gives you, is the knowledge. And then as long as you keep that in the back of your head and you don't lose that, you can stay proficient.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would love to take like a multi-day class. I watch a lot of YouTube videos.
Well, you're a millennial.
I know. So, and I'm sure you guys have heard of a guy online named Grand Thumb.
Maybe.
I haven't heard of him.
He's somewhere in between Steve and Ricky and me in age or whatever, but he's active military, but he reviews a lot of gear and stuff like that. And
He's a human.
yeah, he's a normal dude. He's got a sense of humor and all that kind of stuff. He reviews a lot of gear, talks a lot about training and stuff like that, but he always recommends these guys called Cogworks. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I was just looking, and they're based out of Washington, but there's a 2-day carbine and pistol class.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it, but $500 to take it, and 1,500 pistol rounds, 1,500 carbine rounds.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
3,000 rounds,
Yeah.
man.
But going through.
And then another class I'd love to take would be a warrior poet. What's his name? John Lovell.
Yeah, we've talked about
That
him.
guy's awesome. Mm-hmm. You know, Guerrilla Approach is another group that's kind of intrigued me about taking a class from them, and their classes sell out.
Yeah.
But they're kind of like the high speed, low drag guys. And then I got this fat dude like me trying to to sprint up and down the range and accurate shots while you're running, while your heart rate's up, which is reality based in a way, right? I mean,
sure.
There's a dynamic
Shooting
there.
under stress, yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this. We're going through the carry guard, so talking about the next level of training, where do you want to go? Because when you take training, you're going to say, wow, I really sucked in that thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really
And
learn your skills.
My issue is moving
Well,
it while shooting.
It should challenge you, right? That's the point of education. You didn't go through high school like, yeah, I already know what the test is going to be, and I know the answers.
And I only want to stick to that thing that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, or if it's just like working out. Like, so I've been working out.
We don't work out.
Well, I I do.
Well,
You work outside.
I work out in my mind.
You work out.
See, I'm figured, back to the music that we were playing earlier.
Yeah, the sitar music.
Yeah, the sitar. If I get my mind to do the work, my body will just flow.
Oh, don't do it again.
Oh, we'll bring it back.
I'm going to start laughing again.
Good. It's lighthearted.
At least I'm not talking anymore.
But anyway, no, with working out, if you're not being challenged, if you're not like lifting heavy weights or running
growing.
faster or running more distance or whatever your discipline is, you're not growing.
There's no point.
Like, when I started like a year and a half ago, I could barely make it through one of the workouts because I do like kind of like a boot camp style thing, and there's different levels, and a year and a half later I'm challenging myself to do those top levels and lift twice as much as when I started, and doing that, and then when that gets easy, you take it up again, and you got to keep constantly challenging yourself. And that's with any hobby, or that's with
any kind of education.
Any kind of education.
Yeah, the point of going to college or whatever is you're trying to get better, get smarter, develop in different aspects.
Right. I mean, and Ricky's a testament to that with a bachelor's and a master's degree and all that. So
Smarty pants.
I know he's educated. He's more educated than both you and I.
But that's
not saying much. And that's the thing, is not everybody's journey is the same.
But I will trim carpenter you guys into the ground.
And so I tried woodworking as a hobby a little bit, and I get it, but I don't necessarily have a knack for it. I can put some. I made some garage storage with some rectangles and some 2x4s and all that. I'm a wonder with 2x4s.
So my brother is an intellectual. He's a very smart kid. Mm-hmm. He always has been. Like he would read encyclopedias for fun. How awesome is that's just the way his brain worked.
Right.
And then there was me. I would pull something apart if I wanted to learn how the doorknob worked.
Yeah,
I would pull it apart, and then I'd get yelled at later.
Yeah.
Because whenever anything was pulled apart, my mom and dad knew who it was.
Yeah.
That's just how my mind worked. I had to see how everything worked in order to figure it out.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't mean that one of you...
And I didn't always get it put back together.
But that doesn't mean that one of you is more intelligent than the other. Just different kinds of intelligence. And the same thing can be in firearms where, like we talked to Bill, his specialty is handguns.
Yeah.
I'm sure he could shoot us under the table, all of us, with a carbine, with a shotgun. You hand him anything. You know what I mean? But, his specialty is handguns.
And everybody learns differently that way. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's always good to get perspective. Mm-hmm. And don't be scared. Yeah, I took the enhanced class already. Well, don't be scared because it's a different instructor. You'll learn something different. Plus, shooting is shooting. How awesome is that?
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think that's the point of this episode too. A main takeaway is that, we talk a lot from our knowledge and experience or whatever, but we're not experts, by far either. You know,
I would never claim
our journeys are still continuing as well.
Yeah, just because I teach an RSO class doesn't mean I am the RSO.
Right.
And people don't come from all over the country to listen to Steve's class.
So I was taking the e-learning class or e-learning portion of this USCCA training that I'm going to take in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And Rob Pincus is the one talking on it. But he's talking about how you don't have to pretend to be the expert. If your student becomes even better than you are, it doesn't mean you're a crappy instructor. You don't have to outshoot all your students. I think
that means you're a great instructor.
Yeah, that's what he's saying. He's saying you can teach something that's even above your skills, your own personal skill set. That's pretty cool because you know the foundations, you know what it takes, and you're still walking that journey. And now you're just talking to this student about what you, in theory, are trying to achieve, and then that student is able to achieve.
And that's good to hear because, you know, there's a lot of stuff. I can teach a lot of carbine stuff. I've taught carbine classes before, but I hold myself back because I don't think I don't know. I don't feel comfortable teaching that because I am still learning. Mm-hmm. But I do know the basics. I mean, I know how to get from standing to prone without bashing your knees into the ground or breaking your arm getting down. Some people teach that totally wrong. There's right ways to get down without hurting yourself. That sounded weird, right?
Yeah.
But
that's okay.
Yeah.
It's not as bad as
it sounds like a song, like you got to get down.
It's all making it into the outtakes.
There's a Coolio song where he talks about that.
Yeah, right. that's the one.
Because you got to get down in the hood, G.
No, that's not the one.
Yeah, Gangster's Paradise.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Ricky's on his own planet now. It's past his bedtime. So, but no. So and think
money and the power.
I think
power
what you can take from that is, you know,
or the other way around. Yeah.
When you look for an instructor, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, is look for somebody who is humble and who, you know, has the experience, but doesn't say that they're the end all be all and everything, because, you know, we don't claim to be.
And here's the other thing too. Just because you spend a lot of money on a class and you go there and some egregious, ridiculous, awful, unsafe teaching style is going on, don't be scared to leave. Just because you paid the money and, you know, it sucks. Maybe there's a refund policy, maybe not. But if it's that, what's his name? Voda? Have you seen that guy's videos? He points handguns at his students.
I don't want to say. Maybe you can show me a video to make sure that it's the right guy, because I don't want to just start putting labels out there and say, is it this? Is it that? Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Because I might.
There's instructors out there that are stupid, unsafe.
Yeah. I think I know who you're talking about. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
He lost all of his NRA credentials.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. Then.
Well, and as he should, because
he's awful.
And that's the thing too, is that.
And people still pay him good money.
And no matter what, safety is the utmost concern.
Yeah.
So
if there's an unsafe action, NDs happen. Who was not Masab?
Yep. No, Masab Ayub was in a class
Masab?
And he had an MD. Yep.
Yeah, things happen, right? The greatest instructors can screw up, and that's one thing. But if it is an egregious, blatant, ridiculous, preventable problem, that guy that we were just talking about, he shot a student in a class.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Jeez. That's insane. Can you imagine living with that?
Ridiculous.
And he still
teaches. Yeah, and he fills his classes. Watch his videos. You'll watch and be like, oh my gosh.
That's scary.
Unsafe. I wouldn't.
I don't want to say mean things, but I've seen the videos of the people that are taking his class. And
I would never enroll in a class like that, regardless of content that I might learn.
Yeah.
Because I can read a comic book and get better gun safety than that guy could teach.
Well, you know where you can get great safety and great instruction
classes.
Yeah, is right here at Independence Indoor Shooting. So,
did I mention we teach an RSO class? Oh, I think so. I happen to be the instructor.
Oh wow, I didn't know that.
That was convenient.
Weird.
But we'll close on that one. We hope that you've kind of learned a little bit more about where we at.
And talking to classes, like we're still in the classroom.
We be at.
You can see all the students that just come. We just finished the enhanced class. There's students walking by. They look at us in the window like,
what in the hell are those people doing?
There's microphones.
They're future listeners is what they are.
Yeah.
But yeah, so check out all the classes we have here at Independence Indoor Shooting, or if you are not anywhere in the Treasure Valley, you can find a place that teaches classes and take some.
And if you're coming this way, if you have family over here and you have a few days or even one day, maybe one of those classes fit in your schedule, whether it's the animal skinning class, whether field dressing class, or it's a basic handgun. Don't come in and take the class.
Well, actually,
that information is completely it goes across all fields.
In my in intermediate pistol class, it was a small class, and one of the guys was on vacation or whatever from like Nevada or Utah or something like that, and it just worked out with his schedule, and he took a class here.
Why not?
So, and you can always send us an email and ask us any questions too. Maybe we can help you point in the right direction.
And I think our classes are pretty affordable.
Oh yeah, I think
the education that you get, and that's not a plug. Like I think it's an affordable place to get education.
Yeah. So, but yeah, send us an email, podcast@iishooting.com. Send us a message at Facebook, Independence Indoor Shooting. Check out iishooting.com. The usual. Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Stitcher, feedback.
Another one of the looks in the window.
We're like fish in the fish tank, man. So
what are they doing in there?
Yeah. So maybe we'll get some questions. Let's go find out.
Yeah, we do need to say like on air.
Yeah, right.
Blinking light.
So, but anyway, thanks for listening. And
Mark's tired of listening to our shenanigans.
Do you guys need to giggle about anything else before we go?
No, I think I've got it.
Okay.
So
fart. Gotcha.
God bless it. Okay. All right. On that note, we'll talk to you later.
All right. See you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to Range Minded. If you've got a comment, question, idea for the show, or any feedback, send us an email to podcast@iishooting.com or send us a message on our Facebook page. Just search Independence Indoor Shooting. Again, thanks for listening to Range Minded. We'll see you next time.